The Mockery's end. For 3 centuries, humanity had reached for the stars with determination and hope. And for 3 centuries, the advanced species of the Galactic conquered had responded with nothing but derision. Humans were the cosmic joke, the primitives who thought their rudimentary fusion engines and clumsy gravitational manipulators deserved a seat at the table of interstellar civilization. The mockery had become tradition. A rite of passage for young alien diplomats was to visit Earth's orbital stations and stifle laughter at humanity's advanced technology. Colonel Jameson Harris gazed through the viewport of Luna Base Alpha, Earth's gleaming blue sphere hanging in the darkness before him. His weathered face, marked by decades of service to the United Earth Defense Force, remained impassive as he reviewed the latest intelligence briefing. The Zyraxians, the most technologically advanced species in the known galaxy, had once again denied Earth's petition for full membership in the Galactic Concord. They called our Helios-class battlecruisers quaint metal coffins, Lieutenant Rivka Oren reported, her voice tight with suppressed anger. Grand Admiral Zkathar said he wouldn't use our most advanced ships as cargo haulers for their waste disposal. Harris nodded, unsurprised. What about our request for technological exchange? Denied. They said it would be like teaching quantum physics to insects, Rivka replied, her dark eyes flashing. They've given us 6 months to abandon our outer colonies. They're claiming those systems were always part of their developmental territory. Harris's hand tightened on the datapad. The outer colonies represented humanity's greatest achievement, 14 star systems with over 30 million human settlers. To abandon them would be to retreat back to Sol, effectively ceding humanity's hard-won foothold in the galaxy. Has Director Donovan made any progress? Harris asked, referring to the brilliant but reclusive head of Project Prometheus, humanity's most classified research initiative. Rivka's expression shifted subtly. Sir, you've been cleared for Umbra-level briefing. Director Donovan requests your presence at Karen facility immediately. 6 hours later, Harris stood in stunned silence as the massive hangar doors parted to reveal what humanity had been developing in secret for the past 15 years. The spacecraft before him bore little resemblance to the clunky, utilitarian vessels of Earth's fleet. Sleek and predatory, its obsidian surface seemed to drink in the light rather than reflect it. We called it the F-16XL as an homage to Earth's aviation history, Dr. Elise Donovan explained, her voice carrying the soft lilt of someone who had spent more time with equations than people. She was a small woman with close-cropped silver hair, her penetrating green eyes magnified by thick-rimmed glasses. But there's nothing historical about its capabilities. Harris approached the craft slowly. This doesn't look like any alloy I've ever seen. Because it isn't an alloy, Colonel, Donovan replied. The hull is composed of quantum-locked carbon lattices with embedded metacrystalline structures. It can phase shift at the subatomic level in response to energy weapons. Phase shift, Harris echoed, struggling to comprehend. You mean like? Like the Zyraxian flagship that decimated our Jupiter defense fleet last year, Donovan confirmed. We've not only replicated their technology, we've improved it. Their sensors will register this as nothing more extraordinary than one of our quaint metal coffins, until we choose to reveal otherwise. Harris circled the craft, noting the absence of conventional thruster assemblies. Propulsion. Gravitational inversion drive, said a new voice. Captain Wei Zhang, one of Earth's most decorated test pilots, approached from the control center. It doesn't push against anything, Colonel. It pulls space itself toward the vessel. Theoretical maximum velocity is approximately 350 times faster than our current fastest ships. Harris stopped in his tracks. That's impossible. So the Zyraxians believed, Donovan said with the first smile Harris had seen from her. They never thought a primitive species like ours could understand the principles of dimensional folding. Their arrogance became their blind spot. How many do we have? Harris asked, his mind already racing with tactical possibilities. Just this one prototype, Donovan admitted, but it's ready for deployment. All systems have been tested in the Kuiper Belt facility away from prying eyes. Harris felt the weight of understanding settle on his shoulders. You're suggesting we use this single ship against the entire Zyraxian fleet. Sometimes, Colonel, Donovan said quietly, all it takes is one demonstration to change the course of history. 3 days later, as the massive Zyraxian enforcement fleet approached Earth's outer colonies with ultimatum broadcasts blaring on all frequencies, humanity made its move. The F-16XL, piloted by Captain Zhang with Colonel Harris as tactical officer, emerged from hyperspace directly in the path of the Zyraxian flagship. "Attention, human vessel," came the imperious voice of Grand Admiral ZK Thar, his translator barely masking his contempt. "You are in violation of territorial approach boundaries. Your presence here is as futile as it is amusing. Remove yourselves or be removed." Harris exchanged a glance with Zhang, who nodded almost imperceptibly. "Grand Admiral," Harris replied calmly, "we are here to deliver Earth's response to your ultimatum." A harsh clicking sound that passed for Zyraxian laughter echoed through the comm system. "Your bravery would be commendable if it weren't so pathetically misplaced. One outdated vessel against our armada. Perhaps we should preserve your ship in our Museum of Primitive Technologies after we vaporize your colonies." Harris allowed himself a small smile. "Perhaps you should scan us again, Admiral, more carefully this time." There was a moment of silence before the Zyraxian command frequency erupted with urgent communications. The F-16XL had activated its metacrystalline structure, revealing its true nature. "Impossible," Zkathar snarled. "You cannot possess this technology. This is a deception." "No deception, Admiral," Harris replied. "Consider this a demonstration." At Zhang's command, the F-16XL executed a maneuver that defied conventional physics. It didn't so much move as reappear at different coordinates instantaneously, dancing around the massive Zyraxian warships like a hummingbird circling lumbering bears. "Target their propulsion systems only," Harris ordered. "No casualties." Zhang's hands flew over the quantum interface, engaging precision strike protocols. The F-16XL released a series of concentrated gravitational pulses, invisible to the naked eye but devastating in effect. One by one, the Zyraxian vessels lost power, their artificial gravity systems failing as their engineered singularities collapsed into harmless subatomic particles. "What have you done?" Zkathar demanded, his translator struggling to convey the mixture of rage and fear in his voice. "We've disabled your fleet without destroying a single ship or taking a single life," Harris replied evenly. "A courtesy you have never extended to us. Your crew will be safe but immobile until help arrives, which we estimate will take approximately 3 of our Earth months given your current communications limitations." There was a long silence before Zkathar spoke again, his voice markedly different. "You've had this technology all along." "No, Admiral," Harris corrected him. "We developed it while you were mocking us. Perhaps if you'd been willing to engage with us as equals, we might have shared our discoveries. Instead, you forced us to advance alone." The implications hung in space between them. If humans could develop this technology in isolation, what else might they achieve? "This changes nothing," Zkathar insisted, but the conviction had drained from his voice. "On the contrary," Harris responded, "this changes everything. The F-16XL is just the beginning. Earth is no longer requesting membership in your Galactic Concord. We are establishing our own alliance. Species who wish to engage with us respectfully are welcome, those who don't." He let the thought remain unfinished as Zhang executed another impossible maneuver, the ship briefly phasing into another dimension before reappearing. As they set course back to Earth, leaving the disabled Zyraxian fleet behind, Zhang turned to Harris. "Do you think they'll retaliate?" Harris watched the stars streaking past at velocities that would have been unimaginable just days before. "No, Captain, I think they'll negotiate. For the first time in 3 centuries, humanity has something they fear." The F-16XL entered Earth's atmosphere 12 hours later, descending through clouds toward a future that had irrevocably changed. The centuries of mockery had ended. The age of respect had begun. The dawn of respect. News of the F-16XL's encounter with the Zyraxian fleet spread across Earth's colonies like wildfire. Within days, the quantum-encrypted recordings of the confrontation had been viewed by billions. In orbital stations and underground lunar habitats, in the crowded megacities of Earth and the frontier settlements of distant planets, humanity celebrated their first victory against the technological superiority that had oppressed them for centuries. At United Earth Defense Headquarters in Geneva, Colonel Harris found himself suddenly thrust into a diplomatic role he had never anticipated. Representatives from 17 different species, most of whom had previously avoided direct contact with humans, now requested audiences. The political landscape of the galaxy was shifting rapidly. "The Volarians have offered us access to their antimatter refineries," General Deanna Maxwell informed him, sliding a datapad across the polished obsidian table. The UEDH war room, buried half a kilometer beneath the Alps, hummed with unprecedented activity. The Kandurans want to establish a joint research facility on Titan. Even the Belshari have reached out, and they haven't communicated with anyone outside their nebula in 7 decades. Harris studied the diplomatic overtures carefully. They smell weakness in the Zyraxians and they're hedging their bets. Can you blame them? Maxwell replied, her weathered face creasing into a rare smile. For the first time in living memory, the Zyraxian hegemony appears vulnerable. Everyone wants to be on the winning side of the coming realignment. And what about the Zyraxians themselves? Harris asked. Maxwell's expression darkened. That's why I called you here. We've intercepted massive fleet movements throughout their territory, hundreds of warships converging on Zyrax Prime. Their Grand Council has been in emergency session for the past 48 hours. Harris absorbed this information grimly. The F-16XL had proven humanity's capabilities, but it remained a single prototype. If the Zyraxians decided to launch a full-scale assault before Earth could produce more vessels with the new technology, the outcome would be devastating. "Where's Director Donovan?" he asked. "That's our other problem," Maxwell replied, lowering her voice despite the room's security protocols. "She's gone dark. Karen Facility reports she left in a shuttle 12 hours ago with a full data core and 3 of her key researchers. No flight plan filed." Harris felt a chill. Elise Donovan wasn't just brilliant, she was patriotic to her core. If she had gone off-grid, she had a compelling reason. "Have you activated the tracking protocols in her neural implant?" "First thing we tried," Maxwell said. "She removed it, found it in her quarters with a note saying, 'Trust me.'" Before Harris could respond, the facility's AI announced an incoming priority transmission from Captain Zhang. His holographic figure materialized in the center of the war room, his normally composed features tense with urgency. "Colonel, we've detected a gravitational anomaly approaching the Sol system. Massive displacement, unlike anything in our records." Harris straightened. "Zyraxian?" "No, sir, I don't know how to explain this. It's as if space itself is being rewritten ahead of whatever is coming. Our long-range sensors are picking up a vessel approximately 30 times the size of a Zyraxian dreadnought." The war room fell silent. No known species possessed ships of that magnitude. "Estimated time of arrival?" Maxwell asked, her voice steady despite the implications. 3 hours, General, and sir," Zhang hesitated. "We're receiving a transmission from the vessel. It's Dr. Donovan." 90 minutes later, Harris stood on the observation deck of the lunar military outpost as the massive ship emerged from what could only be described as a tier in reality itself. Unlike the sleek predatory design of the F-16XL, this vessel resembled a vast crystalline structure, facets catching and refracting sunlight in hypnotic patterns. It dwarfed the defensive fleet that had scrambled to intercept it. "Beautiful, isn't it?" said a familiar voice. Harris turned to find Elise Donovan standing beside him, having somehow appeared on the observation deck without using the only entrance. Her eyes sparkled with the same intensity that had always marked her genius, but there was something different about her now, a certainty, a peace. "You have some explaining to do, Director," Harris said, struggling to keep the mixture of relief and anger from his voice. "I do," she agreed, "but first we need to prepare for guests. The Galactic Concord is sending their full council." Harris stared at her. "The Concord, how could you possibly know that?" Donovan smiled enigmatically. "Because I invited them. The ship you're looking at isn't just a vessel, Colonel. It's a dimensional nexus point, a technology so far beyond the F-16XL that comparing them would be like comparing a stone axe to a fusion reactor." "And you built this one exactly?" Harris asked incredulously. "I didn't," Donovan admitted. "At least not alone. The F-16XL was never meant to be a weapon, Colonel, it was a beacon." Before Harris could demand clarification, the observation deck's comm system chimed with an urgent alert. Multiple ships were emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, vessels of designs he recognized from intelligence briefings as belonging to the various member species of the Galactic Concord. "They're early," Donovan noted with apparent satisfaction. The diplomatic summit that followed would later be recorded in human history texts as the Geneva Revelation. Representatives from 32 spacefaring civilizations, including the visibly shaken Zyraxian delegation, gathered in the United Earth Assembly. Security concerns had been rendered moot by the presence of Donovan's crystalline vessel in orbit, its incomprehensible technology making conventional weapons seem as threatening as children's toys. Grand Admiral Zkathar, diminished by his recent defeat and the sudden political upheaval, approached the human delegation with uncharacteristic humility. "We may have been hasty in our assessment of your species," he acknowledged, his translator struggling to convey the complexity of his emotional state. Harris might have savored the moment under different circumstances, but his attention was fixed on the enigma that Elise Donovan had become. As she took the central podium, the assembled delegates fell silent. "For centuries, you have regarded humans as primitive, unworthy of equal standing," she began, her voice carrying effortlessly through the vast chamber. "Some of you mocked us, others simply ignored us. A few, like the Zyraxians, actively sought to contain us, fearing what we might become if allowed to develop unchecked." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the alien delegates. "Your fears were not entirely unfounded. Human history is marked by violence, by conquest, by the strong dominating the weak. You saw in us reflections of your own pasts, and you were afraid." Captain Take Jun, a recent addition to Earth's diplomatic corps, shifted uncomfortably beside Harris. "Where is she going with this?" he whispered. Harris shook his head slightly, equally uncertain. "But you failed to recognize something fundamental about humanity," Donovan continued. "Our greatest strength has never been our technology or our military prowess. It has been our adaptability, our capacity to learn, to change, to transform ourselves, and our understanding of reality." She gestured, and a holographic display materialized above the assembly. It showed the progression of human technology from the first stone tools to modern spacecraft, compressed into a dizzying time-lapse that emphasized the exponential acceleration of development. "The F-16XL was not the culmination of our journey," Donovan explained. "It was merely the point at which we first touched the true nature of reality, the moment when we began to understand that the universe is not what any of us thought it was." With another gesture, the hologram shifted to display mathematical equations and multidimensional models that even the most advanced delegates seemed to struggle to comprehend. 3 years ago, while developing the quantum-locked carbon lattices for the F-16XL, my team discovered something unexpected, evidence that the fundamental forces we had been manipulating were themselves merely surface phenomena of a deeper reality. The Quarian delegate, a being of pure energy contained within an engineered body, leaned forward with sudden interest. "You discovered the underlying," it stated, its voice resonating with harmonic overtones. "We did," Donovan confirmed, and when we reached out to touch it, something reached back. A ripple of alarm passed through the assembly. Harris felt his pulse quicken as the implications began to dawn on him. "The vessel in orbit is not merely a ship," Donovan explained. "It's a manifestation point, a place where those who exist within the deeper layers of reality can interact with our dimensional plane. They have been waiting, watching all spacefaring civilizations, hoping that one would evolve beyond the limitations of conventional physics and perception." "And that civilization was humans?" Zkathar asked incredulously. "Well, not necessarily," Donovan replied with surprising gentleness. "It could have been any of you, but your societies became fixated on perfecting the technologies you already understood. You stopped looking for paradigm shifts. Humans, constrained by our limited resources and desperate to catch up, were forced to seek unconventional approaches." She looked directly at the Zyraxian delegation. "Your mockery was perhaps the greatest gift you could have given us. It forced us to prove ourselves worthy by finding a new path altogether." In the days that followed, as Earth became the unlikely center of a galactic renaissance, Captain Take found Colonel Harris standing alone on the same lunar observation deck, watching the steady stream of diplomatic vessels arriving from across the galaxy. "Still processing?" Take asked, joining him at the viewport. Harris nodded, "Everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe." "Changed overnight," Take finished for him. "The centuries of mockery ended not just because we built the F-16XL, but because we transcended the very rules of the game they thought we were playing." "What happens now?" Harris wondered aloud. Take smiled. "Now we teach those who once laughed at us. And perhaps, if we're wise, we remember what it was like to be the underestimated ones." Below them, Earth gleamed blue and white against the blackness of space. no longer the home of a primitive species to be mocked, but the cradle of a civilization that had broken through to the other side of understanding. The mockery had ended. The collaboration had begun.